Hello, Internet. It is I, Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. Today, we're going to be talking about Elvis. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. So, let's get to it. Pros: movies about Elvis Presley. Obviously. Now, I don't need to go into, I'm pretty sure I don't need to go into a whole lot of detail regarding Elvis, but I'm going to give you a bit of a Cliff Notes version. Yeah, Elvis, he's just easily one of the most iconic personalities in all of music. I mean, for decades, like his dancing, his hairstyle, his voice have all been parodied or imitated by various people. Heck, he was the freaking inspiration for some things, like freaking Johnny Bravo, like the way Johnny Bravo talked, how he acted, was very clearly inspired by Elvis. So Elvis is just that iconic. Like when you think of music from like I guess a bygone era, like from like the 50s, 60s, 70s, he's like the first thing that pops up. And so yeah, any fan of Elvis, of like Elvis's work or Elvis's music, they're going to be interested in this movie from the get-go. And sure, I know I don't know if some of you know this, but I know that there was a somewhat biopic of Elvis like in 2014. It was called The Identical. It was this really weird faith-based fan fiction about him. I don't know. I think that's the best way I can describe it. Um but yeah, that happened. It was bad. Nobody watched it. But this is a lot more legitimate. Like this feels way more legit. I mean, it has a big budget, like $85 million. So they clearly they clearly gave a damn making the movie. So yeah, and so Elvis's name value is a pro. Because anyone who knows Elvis is going to be interested in this movie to somewhat of a degree. So Elvis himself is pro. Another pro, no like super direct competition at all. I mean, like there's really no other movie like this summer, or at least anything like super comparable. I mean, it's not obviously not an action movie. It's a biopic, a musical biopic, and it's kind of just by itself. You know, right now at least it's by itself. And you know, obviously this is aimed more towards older audiences, a bit more towards them. And I would have said that was a con, considering how movies based on that are going towards older audiences, they haven't been doing too great since the pandemic. But Top Gun Maverick pulled in quite a bit of old people, and that movie proved that old people will go to the theater if they deem the movie worthy enough. And I think this might be worthy enough for them. So yeah, going after that target audience and just this movie has no real direct competition. I mean, competition still exists, still does, but there's nothing like super direct, which is good. So I would consider that a pro. Lack of direct competition. Another pro, reviews. They're quite strong, very good. It's at 80% right now. There's no audience score, which might concern me a little bit. But it should be decent. I can't imagine this is going to be like an ultra divisive movie. Although I'm going to look at the scores here. Yeah, it seems pretty good. Mostly solid. So it's I imagine its word of mouth will be pretty good too. So good reviews, good word of mouth, nothing to complain about there. So that's a pro. So that's pro number 3. Pro number 4 is our cast here. Mainly, we got Austin Butler as Elvis, but like the real name we have to talk about is Tom Hanks, who plays his manager in the movie. Now, Tom Hanks, he's one of the most like recognizable actors ever. He's been in so many things, it's ridiculous. I mean, So many iconic things too. I mean, let's just go through this very long list. There's Big, Philadelphia, Forrest Gump, Apollo 13, the Toy Story movies, Saving Private Ryan, Green Mile, Castaway, Road to Perdition, Polar Express, I guess. Um, yeah, well, all those movies. Well, Sully, that's a big one. And definitely, his drawing power has definitely seen better days. Definitely, he's had some bombs the past decade. You know, just a lot of just bad decisions, like The Circle, Inferno. Well, Captain Phillips, that was a success. How did I not mention that before? Cloud Atlas, a movie I love, but it still did bad. Larry Crown, those, well, the freaking Da Vinci Code movies. I mean, the first two did fine, but Inferno just killed the whole series. So yeah, while his box office track record, it's seen better days, he's still extremely recognizable. And also kind of helps that he's playing a role that he doesn't usually play ever, where he's like an antagonist. Because apparently Elvis's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, he was not a good person at all. And from what I hear, the movie doesn't shy away from that. It doesn't try to present him as heroic. Like, he's kind of a scumbag. So seeing Tom Hanks be like a scumbag is certainly something that you don't see every day in a movie. So that might interest some people. And it's just there for like general audiences, because general audiences know who Tom Hanks is. So I say having Tom Hanks in the movie is overall a pro. Another pro I can think of. Let's see. It's Thursday preview numbers. They're very good for the type of movie this is. 3.5 million. Now it's a little difficult to compare this to other movies because we haven't had a big budget biopic in quite some time. But I think a decent comparison would be Rocket Man. Well, at least like a big deal biopic movie. I think Rocket Man is a good enough comparison. So you had Rocket Man, which came out 3 years ago, was all about Elton John. And that movie had a Thursday preview of 1.75. So this did double that. So I say that's a good thing. Although I think that had like extra previews attached to this. And Elvis also has extra previews attached to this. So this number is kind of a little misleading. But it's still pretty good, if you ask me. So that's a pro. You know, strong preview numbers. And the final pro is that usually musical biopics, if it's based off like someone that the public really likes, they usually do pretty alright. I have to look a biographical drama. Trying to find like any like musical ones. This might take a little bit of time, but I'll find them. Rocket Man, that did pretty good. Bohemian Rhapsody, that's a massive one. That's the biggest biopic of all time. Made like, I think around $900 million, which is absolute insanity. How did that do? Previews. That had 3.9 million in previews. So Elvis isn't that far off from Bohemian Rhapsody. So that was a massive one. I guess there's like All Eyes on Me and Notorious, but they had good opening weekends and it completely crumbled after that. So I don't know. Those are like the greatest comparisons. Straight Outta Compton, I think that's a little better. Thursday previews were close to 5 million. So there's that. Trying to find some others here that are relevant. There's Notorious, I already mentioned that. Walk the Line, I think that's probably the most realistic comparison here. That made like well over 100 million in the States. Ray also did very well, made like over 100 million. And yeah, so we've had a history of musical biopics doing pretty darn well, and I feel like this might just join them, considering what's been going on with the movie so far. So yeah, being a big musical biopic, that's a pro. I guess final pro is the director, Baz Luhrmann. Gotta find him. There he is. He's made some interesting stuff. He hasn't made too many movies, but his movies are well known. Romeo plus Juliet, that had Leonardo DiCaprio before Titanic. Got Moulin Rouge. I know that movie has a big following behind it. I know it's good. Australia wasn't very good. And it kind of bombed because it was like hella expensive. But then Great Gatsby, that's his biggest hit. By far and away his biggest hit, making $350 million worldwide, 144 million. This opened with this also had Leonardo DiCaprio. This opened with like $50 million, which is quite high for a movie like this. It opened again like in the second weekend against Iron Man 3's second weekend. So that's remarkable. So yeah. Overall, Baz Luhrmann has a pretty decent success rate. So I would consider that a decent enough pro. So that's it for the pros. Okay, cons. Biggest con for this movie is just general competition. I mean, Top Gun Maverick is still there. It's still a big deal. After a whole month, it's still making substantial amount of cash, to the point where a lot of people believe it might be number one again if, something doesn't happen with Elvis. So obviously there's that. There's Jurassic World Dominion. There's The Black Phone. Lightyear, kinda, although that movie's pretty much doomed at this point. It's not just those movies. Next week we got Minions 2. Well, I guess there's 4th of July holiday, which should help both Elvis and The Black Phone. And pretty much every movie. So can't believe I didn't mention that with The Black Phone. It's too late. So yeah, there's Minions 2, and then a week after, Thor Love and Thunder, which should no doubt be like the last massive movie of this last massive movie for a while, at least until Black Panther Wakanda Forever comes out in November, at least. Although something crazy could happen in between Thor 4 and Black Panther 2, you never know. But yeah, Thor Love and Thunder is the last guaranteed money maker for a while. And yeah, just Elvis got to deal with a lot. There's a lot of choices out right now. And I think it'll still do fine. But yeah, having this many choices usually isn't a great thing for certain movies. I mean, it's good for the overall industry, but when it comes to certain movies, it could be a little tough. So overall competition is a bit of a con here. So yeah, I think that's the only real con for this movie. At least the only con I can think of. Well, I guess it has a long run time of well over 2.5 hours, but that hasn't stopped movies before. quite a few movies opened the past few months, a little while, that have been very long. Didn't hurt its box office one bit. The Batman was over 3 hours. Didn't hurt that movie. So I don't know if the long run time will really hurt this, but I'm just gonna label it as not a con, but not a pro either. So yeah, and I think that's it. So opening weekend, I think this with this preview number, it can definitely move past 30 million. So I'm gonna guess, yeah, 30 to 35 million. I'm gonna lowball it a tad. 30 to 35 million, I think, is decent enough for this movie. And I imagine this is gonna have long legs. even with movies coming out after it. It's gonna have long legs, so it might reach like 110 million. I don't know about overseas. I know it'll do well in Australia because it filmed there. Yeah, it did. Oh my! How did I not mention this before? This movie, it started filming in Australia right when COVID started, really hitting hard everywhere. And friggin' Tom Hanks, he got COVID. You remember that? And then the whole movie got like had to shut down for a little bit, but eventually it got filmed and it's now released now. But I just wanted to mention that. So I imagine it'll do well in Australia. But yeah, we'll see how it does worldwide. But yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, it's not much else to say. So that's it. And that's it for this weekend. 2 movies, but at least they're substantial movies. They're movies that are looking right now, they're poised to make some money, which is good. We need depth. That's the one thing the box office has been lacking severely. It's depth. Like, we can't just rely on one single movie to save the box office every single time. You need more. It's better to have 5 movies that do well than 1 movie that does spectacular. You need more. More is more. You need more money. It helps everybody. So, yeah, and that's the end of June too. So, yeah, off to July next week. And obviously next week I talk about Minions 2. Joy. And apparently also Mr. Malcolm's List, which I didn't even know existed until a few weeks ago. So nobody cares about that. So yeah, see you in July with those videos. So stay tuned for those. But yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. Want to check out more videos like this? I got playlists on the homepage, full of all previous prediction videos I made this year. There's literally no other movie like this that I've covered this year. I guess I could talk about Warner Brothers movies. There's only been like 2. The Batman and Fantastic Beasts 3. So if you want to watch those videos, you can. And any of the others I've done this year, you can. There's also the canceled series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. I covered Elvis twice, I think. The first time was episode 39. Yeah, let me check. I'm pretty sure it was pretty early on in canceled. Yeah, 39. I talked about it then, and I talked about it again much later. Episode 89. Talked about it those 2 times. So if you want to watch those episodes, you can. Or all 133 episodes. I mean, I just did one about Titanic being re-released again, and like the Spielberg's movie, The Fabelmans, getting a limited launch. So you want to see that video and the others, all 133 from beginning to now. Binge it. I highly encourage it. So go do that. There's also box office recaps where I go over all the box office results for any particular month. June recap will come out in between Minions 2, Thor: Love and Thunder. So in between those 2 movies, it'll be released. It'll be uploaded. So stay tuned for that, because that's gonna be a video. So stay tuned. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos I've done on the channel, you can, especially the ones I've done this year. So you go do that. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.